you guys doing this afternoon? So this conversation is for, hopefully this won't bounce off of here, but this conversation is for the daughters of Zion. That's right, the daughters of Zion. And the ones that will cleave onto Zion, okay? In these end times. So the Gentiles, you can join in. I should have put that in in the title of this video. But I wanted to talk to you guys since I'm driving. I thought I have a little time to come to you guys and talk to you guys and bring you this message. And I think it's time for more of these messages to come out. So this is dedicated to the daughters of Zion and the Gentiles that will cleave onto the daughters of Zion. Okay? The main focus of this talk, maybe one of many for my daughters of Zion, is simply don't be fooled. Okay? This has been on my mind, on my heart, to have this conversation dedicated to the daughters of Zion, and especially the young daughters of Zion, because what I am seeing out here is the daughters of Zion are being cultivated to be pimped out within Zion, the family of Zion. Okay? And that's just a no-go. A lot of people who are lost, who are seeking for refuge and seeking for understanding, especially in this end times, right? And when I say end times, if you're coming across this channel for the first time, there's a new shift that is here because the X has marked the spot. I told you guys with the eclipse that is definitely a sign, prophesied also. These signs in the sky come to let us know what time it is, okay? What time you're supposed to be doing feast days and things of that nature. You can't use a regular calendar because those calendars were manipulated, okay? So that major sign that came in the sky was a sign to say things are definitely changing. Those 400 plus years are over, and we are coming into a new cycle, a new leadership, a new rule. And with that being said, I had seen a lot of so-called exposing of Pastor Dow, and on a lot of channels, And this conversation, just stay tuned, sisters, because this is about you, okay? I've seen a lot of exposing regarding Pastor Dow, and I want to say something. Not exposing him or any, because they've done a well enough job, okay? And copycats have jumped on the bandwagon, but I saw it personally, and I'm not a subscriber to this man's channel, but I saw it on Ringo TV, and he did a excellent job in bringing the receipts of the case, bringing the facts of the matter, okay? Now, I don't subscribe to him. Matter of fact, I can't say I agree with everything because I did look at some of his programming, but he does produce excellent content, okay? So I saw this exposure of Pastor Dow on Ringo TV, and excellent job in what he did. But I wanted to jump in and say that I could have been easily swept up into that whole mess. Because when I came into my awakening, when the Most High woke me up, and I was literally running from demons, whether you want to believe it or not, but you will soon see. And I was look, I was ready to go and just leave. Leave my house, leave everything behind. Matter of fact, the first place I ran to was my mother's house, and then as you all know, I told you I was watching Pastor. He passed away. Stephen Darby. I'm sorry if I said his name wrong. He passed away, and when I was going to go see him, he was coming to Texas. Um, that's when he passed away. And so the next person I had been watching was Pastor Dow. This was like in 2016, I mean 17, 2016, 17, around that time. Okay, so the next person I started to watch was Pastor Dow, and seeing how you know. His teachings, listening to his teaching, seeing how he had this facility where everybody was working together. Um, and I was like, okay, you know what? I'm ready to go. I'm ready to leave it all behind, right? And so I'm bringing this message to the young Israelite community of women and the Gentiles that also listen that will please, okay? Because I could have been swept up in that very same camp. And that slavery system, that trafficking that is going on, and I say it's trafficking, yes, that's going on in that compound. When I actually called that compound, and I have my old phone. Matter of fact, for because I know you guys like receipts, right? I like receipts too. When somebody says something or prove all things, isn't that what it says? Prove all things. So I like receipts as well. So I have my old phone, and I can show you wherein I had this number which you could call to the camp and get in contact with someone, right? So I called that camp, and I actually it actually went to, I guess, their dining facility, because I could hear a lot of movement going on, and a female answered the phone, and at the time I did not know it was his wife. His wife had answered the phone, and I was explaining to her my situation, what I was going through, and that I was interested in going or coming to their camp, right? And so she was listening to me, and she was like, "Okay, well, I will pass this information on to Pastor Dow, and somebody will get back in contact with you." But let me say this: during that conversation, and at the time, I didn't know that I was actually discerning her spirit, right? And when she was talking to me, it seems as if she was kind of standoffish when I told her I was interested in coming to their campsite. That's what I called it at the time. I was interested in coming to their campsite, and once I said that, it seemed like the conversation kind of went downhill. Okay, now at this particular time, I believe she was the only wife at that time when I called. Or he might have had a second wife, but I believe she was the only one. But her spirit kind of wavered a little bit when I was telling her I was interested in coming into the camp. Long story short, I never got that call back. You know, um, and I think I called again, but I didn't receive a call back. And at the time, I chalked it up to gang stalking, right? Because we know, if you are familiar with gang stalking, if you're familiar with that terminology and moves on with the tactics and different things like that, it's as if, and I was coming into the awareness of they made it overt. They let me know that this was happening. So I chalked it up to gang stalking because they don't want you to connect with people. They try to keep you isolated in their narcissistic program that it is, okay? Because that's what narcissists do. They try to keep you isolated from people and things of that nature if they can't get to your family and corrupt your family. So when I didn't get the phone call back from Pastor Darby, I mean, not Pastor Darby, from House Camp, um, I just talked it up to gang stalking and figured that they were contacted, and I didn't go move forward with that. Thank Yah, okay? And it might not have just been the gang stalkers. It might just have been Yah keeping me out of that path, that way, because of what has come out. And so I want to talk to the young ladies, whoever is a daughter of Zion, and the Gentile women that will cleave to us as we make our transition. What I noticed while I watched Ringo TV, I watched his breakdown and how they were auctioning pretty much the daughters, the virgin daughters, okay, the virgin daughters of Zion off to the elderly men of the camp who had enough money. So that's why I considered it sex trafficking as well. Um, their parents had enough dowry, enough money to pay. Um, they were auctioning these virgins off. But then on the other hand, I caught one of the broadcasts where he was talking about one of the sisters who had been married before. So I'm assuming she was an older sister, not a virgin, sex trafficking her, passing her around through some of the men in the camp. Okay, and these women, the Bible speaks of silly women, and I want to say the older women definitely can be considered those silly women. Now, the virgins, they are there due to their parents going to that camp. They're raised up in that environment. So I can't necessarily call them silly women. They are actually following the guidance of their parents, okay? But the guidance that they received was totally of the devil, okay? Early on, I did all of the things that you may see in some of these camps, how the women dress with the head wraps and the long dresses to the ground and things of that nature, and just look so. There's nothing wrong with that, first of all, if that's how you want to dress, okay? That's how, if you're comfortable dressing that way. But what I've come to realize is how Dow was able to manipulate these women and these young virgins with this dress code, okay, for women. When the men are bickering about them being able to purchase Jordans, the latest style in the so-called world, right? Because they're supposed to be set apart in this camp. But the men of this camp, they're worried about their looks, how they're styling themselves, right? With the latest Jordan. But the women, they're having them look so, and I have to say it, they look like they were on a plantation, okay? And that is not how, with the shift that is coming, that we are going to be looking. We have come from that. That is not how we look in our original state, in our original state of glory, okay? That is not how the daughters of Zion look. Those head wraps that that they have these women wearing uh, more reminiscent, you know, Dallas community and other Israelite communities too, is more reminiscent of slave culture because black women were not permitted to have their hair shown because their masters were jealous of the black women and the texture of their hair and the glory of their hair. So they were forbidden to show their hair and they were made to wrap their hair up. This is factual. If you feel like doing some homework, some research, I implore you to look this up. So there were laws to have black women wrap their hair up to make them look less attractive. Um, but with the glory that is upon us, even our heads being wrapped, we won't look less attractive, right? But I want you to understand, ladies, daughters of Zion, that some of these tools and some of these practices that these men are doing, and they're saying, listen to them because they are the leaders, they are the heads, and some of that I don't have a problem with. What I have a problem with is them taking parts of things that have happened in the world of bondage for our people and implementing that into them coming up out of the world, setting themselves apart, but keeping their women in bondage, okay? Hey, greetings, Melanin, greetings. And keeping their women in bondage. But they're concerned about having the latest style. Who are these men in these camps? Who are they styling for? Who are they trying to impress with the latest Jordan? These are questions you might want to ask yourself, after this broadcast ends. Who are these men so concerned with styling and profiling for? Looking good for? The women who looked like they were on the plantation, picking cotton and picking chicken feathers, who were they styling for? Those women to see that their husbands that were given a stipend, an allowance, and they chose to try to go buy $100 Jordans when half of the stipend that they were getting was only $100 from what I've heard. So they're not pouring back into their wives, their families. They are looking to style and profile. It's the same way in some of these camps that are not on Pastor Dow's are affiliated with Pastor Dow's community. I see the women and how their clothing looks thrown together. And we are not to look thrown together, okay? We are not to look like rag dolls just because we serve the Most High Yah. If we serve the Most High Yah, and then if you serve Him, and then on top of that, daughters of Zion, if you are a daughter of Zion, if you come from a lineage of royal blood, especially if you are a daughter of Judah, especially if you are a daughter of Judah, why are you walking around looking like ragtag dolls? When your bloodline is rich. You come from a rich bloodline. Okay? The things that they're trying to implement is more of a control basis to me. Because none of it is actually biblical. Okay? For them to wear the things that they're wearing, to wrap their heads up as they are, is not following actual biblical teaching. Because we know if you study, you should know that only time that it was talked about women wrapping their heads up is when they prayed, okay, for their covering. Their covering, if they, first of all, if they didn't have a husband or a spouse, that was a part of their covering, okay? When they're approaching and having a conversation with the Most High Yah. um, that is biblical to cover your head during prayer. But these men are not even talking about the biblical side of the men because I see them with fresh cuts. I see them with their beards lined up. You know, I see them. Uh, uh, they might have locks, dreadlocks, but their sides are shaved. They're looking, and none of that is biblical. Because to shave off and line up your beard is not biblical. If you want your women to look rat-a-tat-tat, then you as men should be around here looking rat-a-tat-tat because your beard should not be all shaven and perfect. It should grow out the way it naturally grows. And some of these men don't even have beards, and that's biblical, right? Some of them don't. So this is a way, starters of Zion, you should be able to tell if this man is for you and truly teaching you biblical practices, okay? Just because you look downtrodden with your clothes looking not matching, I've seen them wear T-shirts with long sleeves under it. Just that doesn't set you apart. They are playing to the outer, the physical. Okay, that doesn't set you apart. What sets you apart is your spirit. Okay, what sets you apart as a child of the Most High is your spirit, not your garment. The teaching. Hold on, I'm gonna read it once I get out of some of this traffic, Melanie. The teaching, the biblical teaching, is modesty. Okay, period, point blank. Modesty. And modesty doesn't say that you have to look like that you own the plantation, that you've been picking cotton in 2024. It does not say that you have to look like that. Okay? And I just want you to understand that that is a ploy, that is a trick of the devil, trying to keep these women downtrodden, trying to make these women feel, let me say, when you want to control and manipulate people, you give them lack of, or you make them feel like they have lack of. For example, like if you have children that go to school, like regular school, not private school, but the regular school system, and these children, you have children that have money. They come from wealthy families, and you have middle class. Well, we know all of that is phasing out, but you have middle class, and then you have students that are poor, that lack, right? And so these children still have to go out from their home, where they might feel comfortable in their homes, but when they go out into public and to these public school systems where children are diversified with their styles and their clothing, and these children that are in mostly like rags, basically, these children will feel ostracized or shamed in a way, or that's when you see low self-esteem in children. That's the head held down, trying to stay um, out of sight because they cannot, or they don't have a fullness of themselves because they feel like they are in lack of. Okay, and so with that being said, I feel that these so-called preachers want to keep these women in lack of. Okay, with this modesty teaching, when modesty just means you're not just flossing and having it all out there. That does not mean you don't have to have the latest styles if you can afford it, and it looks nice and you're well put together. Okay, modesty and being stylish and well put together can go one in the same. Modesty, listen up, sisters of Zion. Let me see if I'm going in the right place. Modesty is not looking like a slave hand, okay? That is not modesty. I just want you to understand that. That's what they have. That and it's like it's drilled into these people's heads that modesty means I must look like the slave hand. Like I've been working in the kitchen, cooking biscuits and plucking chickens. That is not what modesty means. Okay. And I don't want to keep you guys too long, but I think I'm just led to have these conversations because our women, even our older women, and women that came out of situations like this gang stalking, like I was trying to run to people who so-called are supposed to be leaders. I could have been led straight into that type of situation, right? And thank God, thank Yah that I was not, okay? Because I probably would have been on the auction block, like they had a lot of these women, are sex trafficking the older women throughout their camps. Daughters of Zion, Gentile sisters, modesty can still be stylish, okay? You do not have to look like you're broke down, worn out, and tattered about to walk in this realm and serve the Most High Yah. And then before I get on here, and I'll get off of here, I'm going to touch on makeup too, okay? Because that is another tool that they like to use as if makeup is a sin. Modesty incorporates makeup as well, okay? Because wearing makeup is not a sin. And then you probably hear some of these brothers say, well, the fallen angels taught women how to make makeup. Yes, or how to wear makeup. But the fallen angels also taught men how to make weapons. But Yahweh Shai said, go get you a sword. Okay? Yahweh Shai, the sword in that day was a knife, a weapon. And those weapons were only understood and known how to make from the doggone fallen angels before Yahweh Shai came down here. So they want to pick and choose because they want to control you and have you under this humble and I'm not saying you can't be humble or anything like that. I want you just to open your eyes and your mind to how these men use things to manipulate women, to have them under control and lead them astray. Wearing makeup is not a sin. Wearing clothes that are fashionable and modest is not a sin. You do not have to walk around here like you back in 1816. Okay? Because these are tools of the devil that I'm seeing that these men of these camps are using to control the women. A sin is breaking of the law. Let me repeat that. A sin is the breaking of the law. Let me read this comment real quick from Melanin. Did you receive the super? Oh, thank you for the super sticker too, Melanin. I think my first super sticker came from Melanin. Thank you. I sure appreciate it. That's right. If you like these broadcasts and these streams, you can also do super stickers or super thanks, whether the broadcast is on or whether the broadcast has ended. And I think that I will be coming and talking to the Daughters of Zion so that we won't have more Daughters of Zion led astray to be manipulated and used by men who are not using or teaching the word for the benefit of the kingdom, but only for the benefit of their bedrooms, okay? And to keep these women under mind control. Oh, yes, okay, yeah. So hit the like button on your way in, on your way out. Please subscribe so you can tune in and get more of these messages. And especially if you are a sister or a Gentile that's going to be cleaving, we got to wake up too, ladies, because these wolves out here, they are ravenous, and they are in sheep's clothing, acting like they're leading you to the kingdom when they're really trying to lead you to the bedroom and to make money, to fatten their pockets. I'm out, and much, much love.